Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing Content Extravaganza. And if this is your first time here, you can possibly know that I am on a mission to give you everything you could possibly need to be more successful in your business, providing, of course, what you need to be successful in your business is to know more about and be implementing more efficiently, more enthusiastically, and more effectively sales and marketing in your business. Because, of course, that's what you need. You need more customers more profitably. So what goes on here is I am giving you everything I know about sales and marketing. That's the series on a Monday. On a Tuesday, I put in anyone I can find with experience to share if you are looking to be more successful in your business. That's Talk Marketing on a Tuesday. Every other Wednesday, Melanie Farmer comes through and we look at the marketing news and speculate wildly about what it might mean for you in your business, in your marketing career. And on the other Wednesday, I'm here reviewing so you don't have to. On a Thursday, very occasionally, I'm here thinking out loud. And on a Friday, we react to the very best and the very worst of marketing content on the internet. So if that sounds like it might be interesting or useful, please tell me it does. Then now would be the very best time to like, share, subscribe, and comment. And now, you lucky sausages, if you're watching this on the day it goes live, it will be that Wednesday in the fortnight where Melanie Farmer comes through. We look at the marketing news and speculate wildly about what it might mean for you in your marketing life. It's the concierge of co-creation at Crazy Might Work. It's Melanie Farmer. Good afternoon, Melanie Farmer.
Hello. Good afternoon, Martin Henley. What is your boast this week?
Oh, boast. I bought a plant. Secondary boast. Because of the depth of field and et cetera, you can't see that it's browning. So, I'm pointing, but people can't see. There we go. I bought a plant. Because of the depth of field, you can't see that it's browning. It is struggling a little bit. There is a debate on whether this is an indoor plant or an outdoor plant. It's a yellow Palmer. I'm assured it's an indoor plant. Basically, the picture just needs to go up behind the plant, and my background will be what my background is going to be. That will arrive on Thursday or Friday this week. So the next time you see me, there'll be a picture, and my boast will be, there's a picture.
Yeah, and you took it, which is even more exciting.
I took it, and it's very blue. is the spoiler alert.
Luckily, I like blue.
You like blue?
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
they look green in my background.
Yes. It's a very ethereal picture of a lady surfer on a longboard at sunrise. I mean, it is very ethereal anyway. It was always going to look kind of dreamy, but I suppose the blueness of it is adding to the dreaminess of it. You can all judge it when it arrives. It's going to be 1 meter squared, but it's quite a long way away, so it's going to be quite small behind us. That's my boast. What's your boast, Melanie Farmer? What have you done that's so amazing?
I've got a boast that's also a compliment. Ladies and gentlemen, had the absolute pleasure of spending a little bit of time with Martin talking about Google AdWords, and now I feel far less, let's say, stupid than I did before that conversation where it comes to Google AdWords. I suddenly feel clever and like I'm dangerous with Google AdWords. So thank you very much for that. And we are sorting through our campaign structure and whatever. So I look forward to reporting back because I'm sure that's going to do very nicely now that we're not messing about with it the hard way, learning the hard way.
Bless you. Thank you for that compliment. And I will help anyone who is interested in using Google AdWords. Because what you need to know about Google is that they're after your money and they are exceptionally good at taking your money and not delivering very much value. Unless you are religiously fanatical about the way you put together your campaigns, Google will fleece you and leave you with absolutely nothing. So if you want to do better, get in touch. I will help you for free because I think Google has too much money. That's what I will do. Good. We're not here to talk about Google AdWords. We're not here to talk about my plant. My plant is browning. It's dying, Melanie Farmer. It's dying. But it might just be like a home settling in honeymoon period that's not going great. I hope it will work. Otherwise, there'll be orchids there the next time you see me because they're hardier indoors. Anyway, we're not here to talk about plants. We're not here to talk about Google AdWords. We're here to talk about the marketing news. So what, Melanie Farmer, has caught your attention in the last couple of weeks since we last did this?
Yeah, look, I've a few things. One is Montana in the US being the first state to ban TikTok. So the journey implications of that, what that actually means. The second story that kind of got my attention was how I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner, but the run-up to the presidential election is starting to bring in and use artificial intelligence to depict dystopian futures of of the opposition and the effect of that. And then the third is more of an advertising angle, just an interesting another use of AI in terms of grabbing attention, and it's a very local Australian story about climate and so forth. So they're the three that I'm kind of interested in right now.
Okay, and you've come with several links, haven't you? I'm going to get rid of that one. We don't need it. Okay, okay, good. So I've ordered them in terms of priority, in terms of your priority. What's got my attention is Meta has been hit with a record 1.3 billion fine, and their reaction to that for taking data to the United States. And then also Meta is building a competitor to Twitter, so I thought that was interesting. Gartner have their annual symposium, which is happening, and they are talking about catalytic marketing, which is interesting. I've never heard of catalytic marketing before, so maybe this is a new form of marketing. And the danger of going to four, Twitter has a new CEO, which I think might be interesting. I think that might impact the world. So let's get rid of Meta building a new Twitter. No, let's not. Let's just keep them there and see how we go. Let's start with your number one priority, which does seem to be interesting, which is America's first statewide TikTok ban in Montana will work. How will it work? What's going on here, Melanie Farmer?
They're going to be charging platforms like Apple and Google $10,000 per day for allowing users to download the TikTok app. So that is the bottom line as to how it's going to work. But not users that are currently on TikTok, just the continued download of anything TikTok in Montana going forwards. So I think what is interesting about this for me is the lack of dialogue and the fact that, ironically, Facebook is getting banned about privacy and data, and in the same breath, TikTok's getting banned. And this thing about data and privacy, and because that's the concern, is that sensitive data is traveling across to China. There's an assumption that China is hostile and is going to misuse this data, and that this sensitive data, I suppose, is the thing. What's interesting as well is that the governor of Montana has also cited several other platforms that he is encouraging the secretary to consider banning, I suppose, which is Capco, Lemonade, Telegram, Messenger, Temu, and WeChat. And so their parent companies, Tencent, for example, based in Shenzhen, China. So he's cited all of these others, but this particular bill in Montana is just dealing with TikTok. So because it's the first state to do this, it is quite interesting what that means. It's a big, it's not a dialogue. This is a decision. The end of discussion, I guess. Yeah. So, yeah.
Interesting. So the question I have is, are Apple and Google, well, firstly, are they the arbiters of morality in all of this? Like, are they any more moral than TikTok? Like you say, there's an assumption that TikTok isn't moral or is a threat to the citizens of the United States. Are they able to just turn off, make it not available within their territory? Have these people not heard of VPNs? Do they not know how the internet works? It's like, I think it's insane.
Well, yeah, and I do think it is quite interesting. If you scroll to the bottom of that article, it's tagged. Check out the meta tags for this. Is it
Go
in
back to
there?
the top.
No. Oh, it's in the next level down. Governor bans blah blah blah. The second link I sent, which is the Montana government official state website. There's a whole kind of piece on how Governor Gianforte has banned TikTok. But the meta tag for it is protecting our way of life. So
Right.
it is very much a move where trust is missing. It is interesting to me that it's Montana because of kind of where it is. It's not New York, San Francisco. So, but the reason they're going after Facebook and Apple, that's where you download the app. So
Yes, yes, yes.
um,
Apple and
yeah,
Google.
yeah. So they're saying you can no longer, so you've got to turn it off. And for sure, if you're, let's say, Apple, you're not going to be interested in paying 10 grand a day fine each time you get people downloading the TikTok app. I mean, that's not,
No, so it's
I
every
can't see
day. So they're
TikTok.
saying for every day that you haven't removed it, it will be a $10,000 fine. So
For every day that
tops,
somebody has, it's for every day that somebody has downloaded. So, like, if it could be on there, that's fine. But it's a 10,000 if it punishes not the app or the users, it's the distributors. And they're saying it's unlawful in that territory to offer the TikTok app for download.
yes.
And so
Right.
any
So that's
violation
exactly what it's saying.
is
So it
10,000.
doesn't. You don't have to download it. It's like when it's available, that's unlawful. So
You can have it available. Yeah, yeah, oh, that's true. Offering it is unlawful.
yes. So for every day it's on offer in Montana, they'll get fined $10,000. So tops,
Per
it's
day.
per day.
Yes.
So tops is $310,000 per month. They have no idea how little money that is to TikTok, to Apple or Google. They have no idea how rich Apple and Google's lawyers are. So I would argue that Apple and Google are definitely bigger than the state of Montana and will not win this. There's no precedent that I'm aware of. I mean, I'm aware in China things aren't available, but I think China has a much greater control of its internet landscape than Montana does. This is a nonsense. This is a nonsense. They couldn't possibly enforce this. Do you think?
Yeah, and I mean the interesting thing for me is that this is the page you're on now. If the bottom of that says protecting our way of life. So I think is your way of life that you decide what people can and can't XYZ with their own data. So that's the way of life you're protecting. So there's of course a backlash on this.
But
And
we have to see
TikTok
what else they're tagging as protecting our way of life. What other things do we imagine? Do we want to have a little bet about what
yeah,
it is?
well, you have to paint your houses white because any other colour is a breach of our way of life. I mean, yeah, it is. Oh, can you click on that tag and it shows you all the things?
Yes, yes, yes. So we're just waiting now.
Yeah, right. So
Prepared for fire season, banning TikTok, bans foreign adversaries from buying Montana AG land, signs pro-freedom, pro-free enterprise bills into law, increases public access with block management reforms, criticizes overreach
so
of
can't buy
Biden
land.
administration. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the
Right. So
things. This is how they are protecting our way of life. Interestingly.
I think this is an interesting sentence. I just want to read this. It's from the governor of Montana to the chief information officer of
This one?
the what is it? Yeah, bottom. It's his last sentence. Together, we will defend the state of Montana and its people against threats to our security, privacy, and way of life. Now, I think this is why you're getting some backlash. And I know TikTok isn't just lying down and going, oh, well, then we'll just stop targeting Montana. TikTok are saying you're doing the opposite. You're taking freedom away.
Yes.
This isn't fair. People, blah, blah, blah. So, and, where's the dialogue? Where's the trust? How evil is China? What data, it's very, I mean, I don't know. I'm not the CEO of TikTok, but what I've seen of him giving talks and interviews and so forth, it's a business. like Facebook. I don't,
He is
it's
particularly
very
impressive, is what I've seen when he's answering. Like if you compare him to Mark Zuckerberg or the guy who was at Twitter previously. Like, here's an impressive guy. He knows what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? And why he's doing it and why
and
he's doing
he
it.
understands his audience, right? Yeah, he
Yes,
doesn't
yes,
sort of
yes.
go off into sort of weird tangents. It's very, he's aware of culturally of what is appropriate to say. He's comes with numbers and data, so he talks about it from a business perspective very heavily. Yeah, so I think it's going to be interesting to see what other states do around. They'll be watching, and
Yes.
also be interesting to see how the reaction from Facebook and Apple to this.
Google
Because
and
this
Apple.
is a moment when, oh, sorry, Google. So let's
Yeah.
say you're Apple. Do you now say, we are for freedom, therefore we're keeping the TikTok app? Or do you say, we are for freedom, we are removing the TikTok app? So it's another moment of polarization. And I think it's going to be quite interesting to see what they do with that information. Whose side do they, and it's a sort of a, understanding what the sides are is another question itself. Is it China US? Is it the people versus the government? Is it the state versus what? So there's a moment here for these big operators to put their money where their mouth is and say, we're leaving the app on and paying the fine because we believe in X. We're taking it off because we believe in Y.
Yes, yes.
Because it's not going to be money, like you say. It won't be a monetary, it'll be some level of words. What do our values as a company say? And therefore, how should we respond? So that is yet to be seen.
I think they won't give a shit about what Montana thinks. I think they won't pay any attention to it whatsoever. Montana are never going to get these people in a court of law, like these corporations in a court of law. I mean, I'm just looking. The thing is, like, this is Montana all the way up here. Like, there are going to be streets that are divided. One side of the street will be in Montana and the other side of the street won't be in Montana. So what happens is, if I live in Montana in one of those situations and I drive 3 Ks down the road to another village and I download the app there and I bring it back into Montana, are the state police going to be after me? Do you know what I mean? It's just, I don't think it's physically possible. I don't think
it's your residence, your place of residence, I would imagine, is going to be like, that's because your money's coming from wherever you live, and that's how they'd be looking at your postcode as to where you live. Go where you like, but you're technically, your taxpayers' money, is all happening in Montana. But I think
it's not physically possible to do this. They are physically incapable of taking these. So, like, you don't like TikTok, so you go to war with Apple and Google. It's not a good strategy. Do you know what I mean? It's not a good strategy. And the thing is, I know, what do I know? I know that the way TikTok presents to young people isn't the healthiest thing. It isn't the healthiest thing. Reportedly, it's very different from what they get in China. Like in China, where they want to motivate their young people to be better, they get much better standard of content, etc., etc., etc. But what I can't help but think is, like, these poor Montanans, as they call themselves, like, their way of life is to have their data exploited by good old-fashioned American companies and not by the yellow peril in China. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's their entire objection.
Like, I think the most likely thing that's going to immediately happen is a mass rush on downloading TikTok before it comes into, you know what I mean? They're just going to have 100% take up. So the irony of it is,
ineffective legislation I've ever heard of in my life. Like, they're not stopping you. Like, they're not going to punish you, the individual, for downloading it. They're going to publish the corporation.
Oh, do what you like.
He's got no interest.
Yeah, shouldn't have sold it to you.
Okay, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's interesting. It's interesting. It couldn't possibly work. Could not possibly work. Okay, let's go.
I don't think they sold it. That's our summary of that one.
Yeah. There's probably a stereotype. I don't know how they think about Montanans, like backwater kind of people, they haven't really thought it through. He hasn't really thought it through. He's never going to make that work. Okay, then. So
necessarily true, but they're representing the people. Like, there's quite likely, and like at least 100 people have written in about it. that's usually what, pushes someone to action at a state level on something like, well, on any matter. For them to do this, they wouldn't say one person wrote me a letter. It will be 100. So there's a voice of the people somewhere in there, but saying that it is a weird, like you say, how effective it's going to be, what it's actually more likely to drive downloads. But TikTok have responded like, this is against the freedom of America. So it's making TikTok a hero because they're like, no, you must allow people to choose, power to the people, like ironically. So
yes.
Yeah. Let's
Okay,
see.
good.
Get the popcorn.
Right. On the other side of the same coin, this 15-sided coin, we have, what's going on here? There we go. Oh no, this is a mess today. This is an absolute mess. Okay, Meta warned that its record 1.3 billion fine sets a dangerous. Meta warned that its $1.3 billion fine sets a dangerous precedent when the internet is already fracturing under pressure from authoritative regimes. This is fascinating. This is fascinating. So it's the same thing. So it's actually Facebook doing what the Montanans think that TikTok is doing, actually being held to account, actually facing record fines, but the Montanans don't have any interest in this. Don't have any interest in this. So what they're saying is,
Europe.
Meta.
European Union.
Yeah, the European Union. The European Union, 300 million people, I think does have the minerals to take these corporations to court. So this is what's going on. Meta was handed a $1.3 billion fine by the European Union on Monday. This was over concerns that Facebook data transferred to the US could be used to spy on European citizens by the American government, which we know, we've seen what happened to Edward Snowden, the Wiki files, your guy, what's your guy's name? How's my mind today? My mind's not great. So we know these things. Meta executives slammed the ruling as unjustified and referenced authoritarian censorship. So what they said is, these are like their defences. Oh, Nick Clegg was there. He was Deputy Prime Minister of the UK for a period of time. The ability for data to be transferred across borders is fundamental to how the global open internet works, Meta's statement said. Is it? Is it? I think if that statement said the ability for data to be transferred across borders is fundamental to how Meta makes stupidly large amounts of money by exploiting people's data, that would be a truer statement. I don't think transferring data across borders has anything to do with how the global open internet works. And then they're saying at a time where the internet is fracturing under pressure from authoritarian regimes, like-minded democracies should work together to promote and defend the idea of the open internet. I just think this is the weirdest defense. I mean, it's literally Meta doing what the Paul Montanans think that TikTok might do. Like, it's Meta doing it, and their defense is, no, basically, we should have access to this for no other reason than making... Okay, so it also cites TikTok in this, and it says TikTok have faced the same challenge. So what TikTok's done is it's opened data centers in the European Union. So now the data isn't leaving the European Union, and now it is benefiting the European Union. They're buying up vast swathes of land, building infrastructure, employing people, etc., etc. Facebook's attitude is, no, we deserve this data. We deserve to have data. And not, we're going to protect them from the US government if they want to spy on them. That's not their defense. Their defense is, we should have it. It's fundamental. And basically, it's undemocratic to disallow us the right to move this data. The thing that blows my mind about this, sorry, this is the last thing I want to say, I'll give you an opportunity to react, is that GDPR was about protecting Europeans' data. And under GDPR, it is unlawful to transfer data across international borders. So if you're a business and you're using MailChimp, for example, and you send your data to their servers in the United States, that is actually an infringement of the GDPR. So it just seems to me like there's a whole thing that goes on here that it seems to be brushed under the carpet because it's these huge corporations who are doing it. And that's what I kind of think. That's what I think.
It's a weird thing because with globalization, yes, you could open... Your storage could be local, but if the parent company has access to that from another part of the world, then is it actually going to make any difference where it's stored? Whoever has access to it is the one who's got the power, not the,
Yes,
like, so it's not
where it's
for
stored.
example, right, that doesn't matter, right? So you're in China, you've set up your data storage is all in Europe. You couldn't say that the CEO based in China, because he's there, can't have any access. He or she can't have access to that data. Actually, not only they have access, ultimately they control it, the data that's in there. Whether or not they're actually physically, like, the physical location is becoming irrelevant. It's heading towards not making that much of a difference. It's more about who has access, I think, to the data.
Yeah.
So I love what Estonia do, which is that citizens control their own personal data. No one can access it without the permission of the citizen.
Yes.
And then the citizen can see anyone who looks at their own data. So if I apply for insurance, whatever, I can decide what an insurance company can view of my data. I can see exactly who has looked at my data to verify who I am, for example, and I can block them out, or I can do, like, I control it. It's not that I am sending them stuff and they're filing it wherever they like and allowing whoever they like to have a look at my passport, my birth certificate, etc. So it is really different how the whole model is flipped with, with how it is in Estonia. In Estonia, it's possible to have a different world, but it's just this weird thing to me. Like, we are arguing about the wrong thing here, which is the physical location of this data, as opposed to who is able to access and control it from wherever they are.
Yeah, so I think two things. I think, firstly, Estonia are showing that it can be fixed. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it can be fixed. It can be used ethically and justifiably, and it can be, there can be a sensible way of dealing with this situation. I think the thing about the physical location is if it's a data farm in the United States, so you can imagine that the government can turn up with warrants and go in and access all the things. So I'm with you. I don't think it's a fail-safe protection, but I think it operates something of a deterrent, like it clearly does to Meta, because they don't want to build these data plants in Europe to get around the law. They just want to keep shipping it out. And so it clearly offers some deterrent. I just think it's astounding how little respect these corporations have for people and their data, their customers. Do you know what I mean? Or if you say, we're their product, if we're not paying for it, we're the product, how little respect they have for the product. This will go into my thinking out loud about how the internet works. It's like these corporations are taking the piss. They absolutely are taking the piss.
At another level, there's a lot of red storylines running about, the intentions of other, how evil are these, people? Like, I'm not saying they're not, having evil intent or...
Yeah, so interestingly, in plain sight, Facebook are doing exactly what the Montanans are worried about. The Montanans don't care about that at all. Thankfully, the European Union does, and it's doing something about it. I mean, let's also just think about how much money that is, $1.3 billion. Is it Facebook is doing around $130 billion a year? Was that a figure that we saw at some point? So it is 1% of their turnover at least. And it is such a lot of money. Like, 1 million is 1,000 million. It's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. Okay, good. Shall we move on to our next story? Politics. Could be divisive. Could be divisive.
Could be. Yeah, this is, as you can see, that image there of Joe Biden is not an image of Joe Biden. So it's worth playing the video in this, really. This is a campaign basically released by the Republicans to say, here's a dystopian future that you haven't imagined. I think we should have a look at this. It sounds like 15 seconds long.
Let's have a look at it then.
This just in, we can now call the 2024 presidential race for Joe Biden.
My fellow Americans. This morning, an emboldened China invades Taiwan.
Financial markets are in free fall as 500 regional banks have shuttered their doors.
Border agents were overrun by a surge of 80,000 illegals yesterday evening.
Officials closed the city of San Francisco this morning, citing the escalating crime and fentanyl crisis.
Who's in charge here? It feels like the train is coming off the tracks.
Right. I don't.
That's it.
That's it. Right.
But there's more to come, right? That's just one of. So they've done an AI rendering of Joe Biden and his wife, I think, and they're doing now. They are saying this is an AI generation, but then they can get him to speak and move and do and look like him and paint a picture of this is what he's going to say and do, and this is the result of this dystopian future is what's going to happen. Don't vote for him. I'm surprised it took this long for a party to, because smearing the other guy or gal is basically politics 101, and certainly in America and certainly at this level. So I'm surprised it took this long. But I do acknowledge that there's going to be a percentage who don't understand that it's AI. So that is the thing that I kind of get a bit like. I mean, I guess that's true of anything written is the same. It doesn't matter whether it's AI, whether it's written. Understanding that's not actually Joe Biden. So, but you know what? It's a much more interesting story to watch. True or not? What do you think?
Here's what I want to say. This isn't depicting a dystopian future. This is depicting a dystopian present. Like, there is a war in the center of Europe since Biden became president. They did leave $80 billion worth of weaponry in Afghanistan. 2 million people have entered the United States illegally, like illegal immigrants under Joe Biden. There is a fentanyl crisis. There are people shitting in the streets in San Francisco and lots of other Democratic run cities. What astounds me about this is it is political, but what astounds me about this is the strength of the propaganda that people don't see that this is going on. Do you know what I mean? They don't see that this is going on. So why they've produced an AI thing, why don't they just walk through downtown San Francisco and show the dystopia that people are living in, and the fact that Walmart have now left Chicago because they can't afford the continuing robberies. Do you know what I mean? So it is political. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm not an American. But if you're paying attention to what's going on in the world, this is what's actually going on in the world. So if this is a piece of marketing, which it is, then I don't know why they're not just talking about a dystopian future using AI when they could just point the cameras and show the reality. Like, it would appear American troops are now on the ground in Taiwan. It would appear that they are egging that war on. Why they're not just showing the reality? Why are they talking about a future? Why are they talking about AI when it should be a reality? The whole deep fake thing is another thing. There's nothing here that's deep fake. That's what I'm saying. The deep fake thing, when Trump got arrested erroneously again, and everyone wanted to see a picture of him in handcuffs, so of course they AI generated one immediately. The whole AI thing, truth thing, is a conversation that we've had quite a lot. This is like weird that they've decided to use AI, i.e. faking the truth. And yeah, that's what I think. I think it's political. I'm not a Republican or a Trump supporter or whatever. I do think Joe Biden is already the weakest president and probably the most corrupt president since Nixon. Probably more corrupt than Nixon, I think.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry, you got my politics. You didn't get my politics. My politics is American politics is just an unholy mess, and they are all corrupt to shit. But probably Joe Biden is the most corrupt. And so why are they veiling this with AI and like calling it a future situation? It's a now situation. I mean, it's what's going on now.
I think we are more, we are more responsive to an imagined future than an actual, because an actual future is overwhelming, whereas an imagined future is we must avoid that. So I think if they were to show that we are already having this happening today, then it's like, well, that's happening. So
Yeah.
You know, there's some weird thing about like, I'm doing all right in my house, so I'll just carry on.
Yes.
You know, but if there's this weird fictional future that I can avoid because that might change what life is like in my house in the future, that's more motivating than
Maybe.
you know, than saying, look at this terrible stuff. Is it because we, you know, sadly don't really care about other people. Like, you know, that trust barometer report, we care more about our own job security. That's the thing we care about the most in the end. And where we put our time and money indicates that it's our job that we care about the most. And second, it's climate and environment stuff, like on balance. That was the finding, that this is what we're most driven by. So we don't as much, sadly, care, or like we don't vote with our, you know, worrying about our fellow humans as much as we do care about our job and our family.
Yeah.
And
There's
if
a thing about
my
this.
job and family are safe, I don't care what happens. But if you say to me that this could happen and it hasn't yet, then I imagine that this might, like, you know how they're saying, look, San Francisco's under siege and there's bombs going off in, you know, that hasn't happened. So it's more motivating. I think that's why they've done it that way.
And I suppose they are marketing the next term is what they're marketing. I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I think I'm really interested in this. I'm really interested. There was a thing I saw recently where they're talking about mass events. And I'm really interested in this idea of mass influence or mass propaganda or whatever it is because you talk to people and they really have no idea what's going on in the world. Do you know what I mean? They really have no idea what's going on in the world. And you speak to very intellectual and very plugged in and attentive people, and they have a complete reality that they're focused on and they believe that's completely different from yours, maybe. Do you know what I mean? So it's not to say one is better than the other or more true than the other. I'm really interested in this idea of like deep influence, propaganda, whatever it is. Oh my God, I could show you 50 videos that show Joe Biden in a much worse light than that. And why they've resorted to AI, I don't know. And I don't,
Well, yeah, and look, it is what gets attention. What gets attention is where the energy flows. So if you look at climate change, I happen to be studying a degree in biomimicry, which, you know, lessons from nature, all of that. But one of the graphs that we were studying this week was showing very clearly that biodiversity is far more concerning than climate change right now. That's actually like something like 90% of the 100% saturation as a major critical thing for the planet.
Yep.
Climate change is sitting back at 50%. It's not, you know, at the moment now these things are all connected, but there's about 6 factors of things we should care about if we were worrying about the environment. And the state of the oceans is right up there. So that's something that's getting something about 40%. So that's looking at the temperature of the ocean and how much it's able to sequester. So climate change is down the track, but more importantly is biodiversity and the temperature of the oceans and how much carbon's having to be dealt with within the oceans. Yeah. So, but we don't talk about biodiversity in anywhere near the amount we talk about climate change. And it is interesting to me that is just energy flows where whatever the title of that video that everyone's watching, that's what we
go. The attention goes where the energy flows. Yes. So here's the thing. This is what I've thought about climate change for a long time. Is like climate change cannot be the most immediate issue. Do you know what I mean? Because there are 20 million people a year die of air pollution. There's 6 million people a year die of water pollution. There's acts of actual environmental terrorism go on where they're stealing sand from all over Southeast Asia so they can reclaim land in the Middle East and in Singapore. And what's happening is communities are just going underwater as they steal the sand from these islands. They're setting fire to huge swathes of the rainforest in South America and in Sumatra. So there's actual terrorism going on. And this is the story, is like, and it is marketing maybe, or it's this deep influence that we're talking about. How have they managed to convince the world that climate change is the number one issue? How have they managed to convince the world that Donald Trump is an enemy of the state? How have they managed to convince the world that Kamala Harris is in any way competent to hold any kind of office? How have they convinced the world that Joe Biden isn't suffering advanced dementia? You know, all these things, you know, all these things. It's really interesting. It's not directly marketing.
Yeah, and why is Ukraine the most important conflict when you think of so many conflicts that are of no interest?
Yes.
Where there might even be, with all due respect to the people of Ukraine and what they're going through, you know, and Russia, who, you know, I wouldn't say every Russian was delighted by the whole situation either. There's suffering on both sides, the whole situation. But there are many other wars that we have no interest in. There's just no attention to those. Far more people dying in floods in Bangladesh, that like whatever, that's not affecting. We don't care, you know.
But so also, how have we got to the situation where there is no anti-war movement whatsoever? Like, if we look at what went on in the 60s and the 70s, like, people were interested in ideas of pacifism and anti-war and all these things, and that has been completely deleted. Do you know what I mean? There's nobody on any political party in the United States or in the UK who is saying there should be peace. There are in Ireland. I've seen some in Ireland calling for peace. But everyone else is just saying there can't possibly be peace unless Ukraine wins. Do you know what I mean? It's just, this is something I'm really interested in. This idea, like, how do they influence us so deeply? Do you know what I mean? So deeply as that we can't even conceive that something else might be the truth. I went through that Endelman report because I thought I was going to be able to use it for something. And it gets to, like, the whole thing is framed about polarization. So it's saying the whole world is polarized. But it's saying something about how, like, people with different views. So would you be happy to have someone with a different view live in your community or work in your workplace? And the figures are like 30% would be happy to have someone in their workplace who holds different views to them, and only 20% would have people like that in their community. This is where we've got to in 2023.
That's why that's the headline. I mean, I think.
Would you help someone if they were in trouble if they had a different view from you? 20%.
No, I would not. But they are saying
you wouldn't
on matters of importance. So, for example, it's not like if you like Vegemite and I don't. It's like if you believe in God and I don't. Or if you believe, you know. So it's on, let's say, big matters. Like if you believe in climate change and I don't.
Gender issues.
Big things like that. Gender. If you believe there are 2 genders and I believe there's 100. That sort of thing. So, but I won't help you. Like if you're in a car crash, are you going to say, excuse me, man, while you've still got a pulse, are you non-binary, in which case you're going to die, I'm not helping you? It's like, I don't think, like in practice, people will put in a survey, I would do X and Y, but in a pinch, you're going to pull someone out of a flood car, I think you would probably help them. But that's probably me. You know, I can't see that. But the thing is, the idea that you are not prepared to live in a suburb where somebody who believes there's more than 2 genders would also live, that is, and you believe, you know, whatever, it's just, polarizing views. That is pretty shocking, and it's growing exponentially.
Yeah.
So, interesting, but it is about the attention stuff. So this AI thing, you know, it got us talking about other things, but I think it is a moment where it is interesting to me what they put in that eye, what they chose to share, what story they chose to tell tells me what they believe the public want to hear that would make them be concerned. So does that tell us that the American public have got it in for Taiwan and are fearing getting bombed in San Francisco as a whole? Is that the American fear that right now? Because otherwise, why would that be the story that they go with? That's how that story plays. So it's just kind of interesting read on whatever they think is going to work right now.
Yeah, and it is interesting because I don't even think it's that complicated. I think these are the situations. There is a war in the centre of Europe. There hasn't been a war in the centre of Europe since 1945. That was the most cataclysmic war in the history of the world. There are American troops now on the ground in Taiwan. They have been sending politicians there. They do seem to be pushing for a war there. There is a fentanyl crisis. There is a homelessness crisis. there is a crime epidemic. These are the things that are going on. I think these are the stories. Do you know what I mean? These are the stories. All right, shall we move on because it's all got a bit political?
Yes, yes,
right,
we
so
did.
Cataclysmic. That was a segue, quite a thingy. Segue to catalytic marketing. You heard of catalytic marketing?
I'm trying to say it. Catalytic. Catalytic.
Yes.
As in a catalyst. I imagine it's like if then scenario.
As not in cataclysmic. What did I say? Catastrophic.
It's cataclysmic. No.
Yes. So what they're saying is catalytic marketing experiences provide the greatest boost to commercially productive behaviours such as paying a premium or referring other customers to the brand, according to Gartner. I'm just going to let you know how I feel about this right now. I just think this is the worst kind of BS. Like we experience this all the time. It's like
I don't know.
Yeah. It's like people have a very definite issue with marketing. And it's like, okay, well, if we rename it every 20 minutes, then it's a bit like the business you were talking about before. If we rename it every 20 minutes, there won't be an issue. Catalytic marketing experiences are defined as those that change customers' understanding of their own needs and make them feel more confident moving in a new direction. And I just think this is so much BS because what is it? So maybe this idea of deep influence is the thing that's going on here. Like, just work out what people want to buy and sell it to them. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to change their understanding of their own needs. Like, maybe we just respect people and say, okay, they understand their own needs. Do you know what I mean? And we'll support them to be the person they want to be. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm saying it in the most clumsy way. It's like there's two things here. Firstly, marketing has an issue. Renaming things every 20 minutes does not resolve the issue. I think it makes it worse. And yeah, this is Gartner doing this. So Gartner thought leaders supposedly at the Gartner Marketing Symposium Expo. I don't know. It's like, why?
What does it say? What does it say below this? Is there anything that halfway? Because they've so far said nothing.
Right.
So in a pressurized
environment, CMOs are eager to optimize their investment and justify their existence. So they're renaming it. Said nothing. Yet they overcompensate in their customer-focused activities, continuously investing in more channels, technology, customer data, and personalization. Well, these things I would have thought would work. Do you know what I mean? Like customer-focused activities. So what they're saying is it's easier to change the customer or the prospective customer than it is to go out and find the people. The singular focus on customers results in a series of escalating and unprofitable investments and experiences that customers find invasive and tune out. To spark productive, lasting changes in organizations and audiences requires catalytic marketing. Catalytic experiences help marketers do less to get more. I just hate all of this. It's like the whole AI thing is happening to make life easier for marketers. It's like marketers are the laziest people on the planet. Do you know what I mean? There cannot be enough to help marketers get more by doing less. So I just don't believe in it. I think the way you influence people is work out where they are and take them to the next place that they want to be. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I think you can positively influence people. This idea, catalytic marketing, is where you have to change them somehow. So miraculously now they want your product. And I don't think you have the moral standing to be responsible for changing people. And two, I don't think it's easy to do that. It's easier just to be in the flow of traffic. Do you know what I mean? Here I am. I've thought about you. This is something that could really help you. Here it is. Do you know what I mean? Instead of, there you are. I know better than you what it is that you want to buy. Now I'm going to sell it to you.
I think it's ironic they're using the terminology customer focus because it doesn't sound very customer focused. Like for me, you know, I feel like you should be influenced by your customer, not the other way around. Yes. If your customer wants something and you have a match of skill sets to be able to do that, then you should do that. If the customer, it's being influenced by if they would actually have framed it as the catalytic effect of listening to your customer properly, that you should change entirely how you're doing things because you're listening so deeply. But it was a lot more like how to persuade someone to buy something they don't want. That's what I kind of took away from that. Maybe
and
it's
you've nailed it, Melanie Farmer. You've nailed it.
Yeah,
it's not me, it's you. You change.
Yeah. You change so that you buy the thing that I have decided is perfect, and I'm going to find a way to convince you of it, rather than I've now realised I've made a piece of crap that nobody wants. What I'm going to do is listen to you and adapt, and I shall be influenced by you, making me a way better company, because for sure I've added value.
Yes.
But it's a bit of a disease of the age, do you not think? We're not listening to each other. And this is why we are continually at war. And this polarizing that's going on is a symptom of, our propensity to everyone's a thought leader now because we've got a blooming platform, as opposed to there's not many people left listening anymore, is there? It's just no one left.
Interesting. So the answer is listening is the truth. So again, it's another example of they're not listening. And this is what I've always said, like every business claims to be customer centric and they're really not, because they're the next thing they say is we, this, that and the other. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so yeah, you've nailed it. It's 100%. It's not me, it's you. You'd better change. Like if you not buying my products, it's because there's something wrong with you and we're going to change you. Right? It's easy to change the product. You know what I mean? Be the thing that people want to buy. You've nailed it. It's 100%.
May I have a little brag here, because we did have a few customer meetings, just to your point about listening and changing your product as a result of listening. And we were hearing that our clients were just, overwhelmed with, there was burnout, right? And they wanted to, relax. So we designed this innovation retreat, which is the 2-day offsite where you have less than half the content, a lot more experiential, a lot more time in nature, a lot more reflection time, which we've deleted over the last 3 years. So we are actually saying, come with and have structured reflection time, because we heard you say that you're done having every 10 minutes a new framework, a new set of methods, techniques, rules, graphs, statistics. We take all that away. We actually take your technology away and give you 2 days to think, but within a structured sort of, some mindfulness, and but it's a business offsite that is allowing you to restore yourself from the burnout. And we wouldn't have thought of doing that if it wouldn't have been listening to what is actually really causing our customers, and it's just, so that sort of thing, listening and changing your product. And there's no one doing it. Everyone else is out there like punch over and a framework, 500 frameworks. It's not saying we don't do frameworks, but we realise that you also need to do other stuff.
And the thing is, they've got to the point, I think, in these organisations where it is so difficult to actually implement change within your organisation that you actually think it's easier to change people. Like, how can you have got to that situation? Do you know what I mean? How can you be Gartner and stand up and say, don't change your product, don't be more customer focused, don't actually speak to your customer, don't do any of that thing, change them. Like if they're not buying your shit, it's because there's something wrong with them, they need to be changed, change them. Ridiculous, preposterous.
Yeah, that works well in marriage too, I'm sure.
Yes. Good. Right, here's my last story. We'll get this one out of the way. This one is, there is a new CEO in town at Twitter, but a new CEO won't fix Twitter's biggest problem. You could probably identify what Twitter's biggest problem is, according to CNN. So this lady...
Go on.
Elon Musk. Of course it's Elon Musk. During his 6 months as Twitter CEO and owner, Elon Musk decimated its ads business, alienated some news publications and VIP users, and plunged the platform into a constant state of chaos. Musk announced on Friday that he would, in the coming weeks, hand the CEO role over to Linda Yaccarino, a longtime media executive and former chairman of global advertising and partnerships at NBC Universal. Yaccarino has said little publicly so far, etc., etc., beyond noting her excitement to transform the business altogether. In tech, the CEO is often the public face of the brand, but Musk will almost certainly continue to fill that role with or without the title, likely to Twitter's detriment. So this is like speculation. If we look at who Linda Yaccarino is, what we will see is that she is... I get this right. She worked for Turner Entertainment for 15 years, becoming Executive VP and Chief Operating Officer of Ad Sales, where she played a key role in developing innovative advertising and marketing solutions. Yaccarino joined NBC Universal in October 2011 as head of blah, blah, blah. She was appointed by Donald Trump to the President's Council on Sports, Fitness and Nutrition. She was chair and partnered with the Biden administration in 2021 to create a coronavirus vaccine campaign that featured the Pope. She also chaired the Future of Work Task Force for the World Economic Forum. On her appointment, the Financial Times noted Musk's skepticism about the World Economic Forum and Yaccarino's links to the organization, which he had previously criticized for increasingly becoming an unelected world government. Musk reassured fans that he did not see Yaccarino's links to the WF as an impediment to his commitment to free speech, writing for appointment as Twitter CEO that the commitment to open source transparency and accepting a wide range of viewpoints remains unchanged. So what's happened is arbiter of champion of free speech, Elon Musk, has employed a WEF stooge, vaccine propagandist, etc., choose your title, choose your conspiracy theory, Biden administration, Trump administration, alumni, etc. But I think at the root of this, what he's done is recruited one of the America's leading kind of advertising specialists, which, if it's true what he says, they've lost advertising revenues, is probably exactly what Twitter needs at this point in time. I know you'll have a view because you have a view all things Twitter and Elon Musk.
I have this secret immediate reaction where I think, did Elon intentionally destroy Twitter so that he could appoint someone to build it up because the only way is up? And like, did he intentionally, run it over so that whoever comes in after him doesn't have to maintain? You know what I mean?
Yes. I don't think so.
Be badly behaved.
What he's done is probably improved Twitter, and I do think there was an element of removing the rot that had to go on. I think he's probably improved it, and I think he's doing the next sensible thing, which is bringing in an institutional ad specialist. That's probably what it needs now.
Well, someone with her heritage there is that she's built things up and then, So I wonder if he sort of secretly knew that he'd have to knock down, rebuild. So what he's done is gone, right, I'll knock down and then we'll get someone in to rebuild and they'll save the day. So I'll be the villain and da-da-da. I don't put it past him as being, if I'm smart enough to think that would work, then he for sure is. So I do wonder if that's sort of his, this is how this is going to work. I'm going to do the hard work and then we're going to get... I don't
think that he's done anything that he would think is... And I don't know objectively if he has or not, but I think the staff count has gone from, was it 8,000 to 1,000? I think he's probably done some really useful things. He's brought in subscription revenue. He's reduced the headcount dramatically. He's got everyone talking about Twitter. I don't think...
I think they're good things, but I wonder if they're not going to be well received, in thinking of all the jobs and the families and the stories that are... So that's not going to be we're so glad you reduced this headcount by 4,000 people lost their jobs, 7,000 lost their jobs. So good, well done. Of course, it's going to be stories are going to hit the fan, and he's going to be this is the change that had to happen, right? Yes, then so now that's happened, I'm a villain. So this is my perfect. I'm going out, and then this person go. Now we've fixed Twitter, and you run it, and not only run it, build it properly. I'm off to the next thing that's going to. So I think that would make sense to me that because how could he stay having done the knockdown? It's something that had to happen, let's say, but you're not going to make a lot of friends doing that. So this is a nice way to sort of say, let's switch it up. And now it's time to build. Just we have the foundations are correct. Go.
Yeah.
And it's effectively a startup again at 1,000 and up it goes.
I think that's wildly speculative. You're fulfilling the brief with that. I think it's a perfectly sensible thing to do. Like bring in an institutionalized ad specialist now, market it. You know what I mean? Make it something that people want to advertise on again. I think that's interesting. I think it's interesting. And that she's a WEF shill and all these, what these conspiracy theorists say. I'll tell you what's refreshing even about that is that he has been vocal against these issues, the vaccine, misinformation, and the WEF and all these things. But he has the sensibility to then sit down and say, okay, so it comes back to the trust thing, like irrespective of the fact that I differ from this person on these views, I believe in free speech and I believe in good business, and I'm going to bring in the best business person I can find with skills appropriate to doing the next thing I need to do in my business, which is build ad revenue again, So maybe that's refreshing that Elon Musk is going against the Edelman report and saying, I'm perfectly happy to put somebody in charge of my business that I don't agree with 100%. That's refreshing.
Yes, exemplary. Work with people who are different from you. Diversity wins every time. Good job.
And inclusion wins, like actual inclusion wins every time. Do you know? And actual tolerance wins every time. I'm so busy being tolerant, I can't tolerate you because you're not as tolerant as me. That's not being tolerant.
No, he's like, if this is what Twitter needs.
Exactly.
Yeah, go.
Do this thing. Okay, good. Your last story, which also appears to be a little bit apocalyptic. The Opera House gets obliterated for the Australian Conservation Foundation. What's going on?
I thought this was quite an interesting... It's just an ad campaign, right? But the Australian Conservation Foundation, and for everybody's reference, they are rated the #1 charity in the country. So most people wouldn't know that, including major donors of that. But they are, and by their title, you can see they preserve habitat. That's predominantly what they do. They are alarmed at the rate that Australia is destroying habitat, and they are acknowledging that we seem to be a bit cavalier about this. So they've created this ad because they're like, if you can't pay attention and you don't care about what's going on with the habitat of our koalas, etc., then try this on for size. And it's basically the fact that there's something like 27 opera houses per day getting knocked down for drilling and mining. That in terms of acreage. But if you scroll down, you'll see... Oh, hang on. I sent you another link. That's what it was.
Did, yes.
I sent you another... Yeah, so that's the link we want. And it's like 30 seconds.
Okay, good.
Long. Here it is, yeah.
Oh, it is 30 seconds long. Okay, good. Right, so let's play this.
Yeah, let's have a look at this.
Australians would never let this happen, but we allow other icons to be destroyed. The homes of koalas and other wildlife are bulldozed at the rate of 28 opera houses every hour. Stop the destruction. Search Save Our Big Backyard. Nature needs us now.
Good.
So I like the use of AI in this, and I like the fact that they're connecting the dots in terms of the shock value, because we've seen koalas on fire, like we've seen the destruction of the bush. We haven't seen this, and fair play to them. Look at that. That's impressive, right?
Wait. So is everything AI now? So is everything AI? Is this like a year ago we would have called this CGI?
Oh, right. Okay, good point. Yeah.
So, but it has to be AI because AI is what everyone's talking about. So everything now is AI. Like even the Biden ad, it was created using AI, but they could have as easily pulled those same images from the news or from newspapers or from... Do you know what I mean? I could have gone out and taken them, but everything is AI now.
You're right, Googleable probably.
Yes.
That's a good point. I'm just reading exactly to see if they haven't talked about anything about graphic visual effects. They've used AI as the premise. So, but AI, of course, as you say, technically artificial intelligence would suggest that they have said, here's the opera house and this is the thing, you do you. And that the computer itself has said, oh, well, here you go. As opposed to what it probably really is, which is CGI. But I do like how they've, it's just a good campaign.
Well, they've juxtaposition. They've taken something that they want people to care about, and they've coupled it, is what they've done, with something that they do care about, which is the thing. So that's interesting, because I'm reading Malcolm Gladwell's Talking with Strangers at the moment, which isn't anything like the book I expected it to be. But he's talking about coupling. He's talking about how things go together. So, yeah, it's useful. Good, effective campaign, and I like the cause. Do you know what I mean? Let's not be bulldozing the environment, because that's not cool. Do you know what I mean? That's really not cool. Yeah. Especially if it's for the benefit of a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of the population of the planet and of no benefit to the wildlife that lives there or whatever. 100%. Great ad.
Yeah, well done, guys. Good job. Like the fact that they happen to be the highest rated on the ethics radar, blah, 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 of campus. So, but that being said, it's I like that. I like the idea of, apparently I read a report about this a couple of weeks ago, we get better at juxtaposing the older we get, and also the older we get, the more money, if technically we ought to, all going well, have. So making these sort of things where you do connect the dots is going to resonate more and more with, as you get. But I'm saying that if I was 20 and saw that, I'd be pretty moved. So
yeah.
I think the biggest icon.
The biggest icon, yeah, 100%. They could have gone for the bridge as well. I wonder how many bridges of habitat is being bulldozed every day. But that's it. Beyond that, you're out of icons, I think, apart from there's a big rabbit somewhere. There's big stuff all over Australia. That's
yeah, but
your Premier League icons and your championship icons, there's a gulf of difference between the two.
The bridge is not... It's nowhere near. There, of course, has to be the Opera House, because the Opera House is the theatre, arts, and culture. The bridge is just a means of crossing the harbour. It's not. There's nothing artistic about it, apart from you throw fireworks off it once a year. It's really not.
It is iconic. It is an icon, and they're the only two icons you've got in Australia. That's what I'm saying. I am actually going out of my way to.
Well, you could blow up Uluru, couldn't you?
You could what?
The big rock in the middle of the Uluru, you could knock that down. That'd be pretty tragic. They wouldn't
Is it not called
dare
Ayers
because
Rock
it's
anymore?
such an image. No, since the 80s, I think it got changed. Sometime there around there, got changed to Uluru.
They could have done some good
you
work
can't
on the
climb it
messaging with
anymore.
that, because it's in 30 years that message hadn't reached me.
Well, I think Big Ben's never been Big Ben, has it, in London? So it's the name of the bell, not the actual tower.
That is true.
But
That's
they're
an
like.
icon.
The British just say, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole town's called Big Ben, enjoy yourself, as long as you come and visit. Sometimes you think it's fine.
We've got through this, Melanie Farmer. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, need a glass of wine. Made it. That was quite like apocalyptic and political. We're going to do religion next time, surely. We have to do that, don't we?
The thing is, I do think it's all, like the themes, if there were themes for today, the themes are trust, the themes are trust with AI.
Listening.
Yeah, so somebody put out a poll the other day on LinkedIn. I can't remember what it was, but it was something like, how is AI or how is ChatGPT going to affect your lead generation? And the options were like, save time, produce better content, generate more leads, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, it's going to make it noisier and more difficult. Of course it is. Do you know what I mean? There's just going to be...
Was that an option?
Noise, lessen trust. That was my actual comment. Because of course that's what it's going to do. Do you know what I mean? If everyone can put out stuff without any effort whatsoever, there's going to be more stuff that people are going to trust less.
Yes.
Good.
There you are.
So, for the benefit of anyone who's still listening, if you haven't yet liked, subscribed, shared, commented, etc., Lord knows we've given you ammunition for comments today. then do that now. Give us the motivation. We need the motivation at this point to continue on this epic journey. You are an absolute legend, Melanie Farmer. Thank you so much for being here. Don't rush off. We'll say goodbye like proper human beings in a second. You're a legend. Thank you.
Yeah, like and share now, and we will talk about religion next. So,
Thank you for taking the time to check out this episode of Marketing News. If you found this interesting and useful, then YouTube thinks you're also going to enjoy this, and this is the latest thing that we've produced. If you haven't yet, and you could take a second to like, share, subscribe, and comment, get involved, that will give us the motivation to continue on this epic journey.